Hey, welcome to my channel. Essentially, I'm going to start off a little bit to the point of coming to basically my rankings. I mean, everyone seems to do rankings like top five, the NFL teams per week, basically. So I didn't get a chance to do this each week, but I'm going to do this for now, like for the past 5 weeks or past 6 weeks, and showing based on what happened this past week, who the top teams I think are basically at this point. So, like, prior to the NFL season starting, basically, I mean, honestly, we all had a feeling of like, we had our rankings based on what, before the season started. Mine was basically to the point where, I had the Eagles. I mean, Super Bowl champs, of course, they're going to win. And then the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, like, who's going to not use them at that point, right? And then, of course, the Packers after they make the Mike Parsons trade. I mean, like, come on, Michael Parsons. It's definitely going to help, add some. And of course, you got the Detroit Lions. I mean, you're not going to deny them what they did. I mean, granted, the way they lost to the Commanders, I think that's going to rejuvenate them and like get them more angry. And of course, they'll fix whatever they need to fix. And of course, the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, let's be honest, the Baltimore Ravens at that point in time, we thought they were probably the only ones that were legitimately outside of the Buffalo Bills, legitimately gonna challenge the Kansas City Chiefs and make it probably even go further than the Chiefs. If it's not the Chiefs, they're the ones that are most likely going to be thrown in because the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, yes, but the problem is they don't have as many offensive weapons as the Baltimore Ravens do, as well as, let's be honest, the coaching plays a big factor as well too. Now, when it comes to week one, after week one started, I mean, the Eagles won, of course. The Packers, based on what everything had gone around, basically at that point, my rankings had changed a little bit, right? So it was like more of the Eagles and Packers being number one and two. Kansas City Chiefs after their loss drops down a little bit, but like it's just one loss, but I think they still could right the ship. Buffalo Bills and of course the LA Rams. We couldn't forget about the LA Rams and what they did last year. I mean, let's be honest, they're a touchdown away from going into the Super Bowl, basically. So they're the only ones that legitimately gave the Eagles that challenge that compared to everyone else did at that point. Let's be honest, like the Eagles actually killed the Chiefs. So the Rams went healthy and went hot. They can take out any other team at that point. So that's why I figured like the Rams deserve to be on that spot as well. Why they weren't higher as the Green Bay Packers is because again the Packers have a tough defense at that point with specifically with Michael Parsons that they can stop a lot of people at that point. Then when week two came along, I mean the Eagles Packers winning at that point. I mean the Eagles weren't winning as wholeheartedly as they should have, similar to the Packers. But I think things have changed a little bit to the point where, like, after Kansas City losing that week, it showed that basically, all right, there's something going on, maybe, and then, maybe some issues, whatever it may be. Buffalo Bills were winning. So at that point, I figured that the Bills should come up there at that point. Now, granted, like, of the five teams, most of them are all NFC teams. There's only one AFC team, but reality is I mean, seeing as how the Ravens played, there was some things that need to be ironed out and we were going to wait till week three basically. And in week three, we saw what happened, and unfortunately, you see right here, basically, it's like it's nothing much changed as much. The only difference is the Rams kind of dropped a little bit out of my list, and the Commanders with Jaden Daniels. I mean, like based on last year, the fact that they beat the Lions as well too. Quite honestly, the Lions, I think, I mean, the Commanders, the Washington Commanders, could potentially overtake these teams at this point as well too. Will they be the legitimate contenders to the Eagles? It was hard to say. I still believe the Packers and the Lions will be the ones that will challenge the Eagles if they get red hot as well too. And then of course week four comes along. Eagles were still winning. Unfortunately, the Packers were losing. They weren't winning as wholeheartedly, of course, with that tie with the Dallas Cowboys defense. I mean, that shouldn't have been tied. That should have been a win. Buffalo Bills, they're winning, so like at this point, like they definitely shot up at that point. And then at that point with the Chiefs, they came back. And Commanders, it showed that they were good, but they weren't winning as they should be. Whereas the Chiefs, at least they did get that win, and you figured at this point by week four, all right, they righted the ship. They're riding the ship. They should know how to win from here on out. You will see what they did. They'll pretty much do what they did for the past couple of years, keep winning at that point. And then of course week five comes along, and what happens? Basically, Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Broncos. We're like, all right, they should have had that game, but they didn't. They had too many offensive wins. Now, granted, Denver had a tough defense, but they should have won that game as well too. And the Bucks, I mean, let's be honest, kind of surprised that they're doing this good. Actually, they were doing that good at that point in time. And then the Rams, I mean, again, they were still winning, still getting up there. The Ravens, after losing Lamar, basically, it was a case where, like, you know what? They're not going to challenge the KC Chiefs at this point. Buffalo Bills possibly are the ones that are going to challenge the Chiefs. We'll see what happens based on this. But yeah, you'll see basically it's all NFC teams at this point, honestly. But the reality is, like, I think the Eagles, yeah, that one loss shouldn't affect them as dramatically. The Rams still winning. Green Bay, the fact that they weren't winning as much at that point, it shows that there's still issues going on at that point. Whereas the Lions, I think they're, like a tough team to beat. Now, of course, after week 6, well, you got the Lions. They're still winning. I think they are the team to beat as of this moment. They still are the top team. I think they are the top contender. And then, of course, you got the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're still winning. I mean, based on what Baker Mayfield did against the 49ers, that was a shocker. And no, I don't want to say shocker, but the way he came, he had no wide receivers, no running backs, no offensive weapons. He pretty much took it upon his back. He became like another Josh Allen, basically, in the past years. But Baker Mayfield was leading the Bucks. This is a guy that's definitely deserving to be MVP. And then the Packers, I mean, they're winning again. So, like, but some would say, like, they don't deserve to be here. But I think they might have figured things out, maybe. But we'll see, come this coming Sunday, basically. I think the Packers were basically at that point. The Rams were winning, of course. I think they still deserve to be on here. Until the injuries, they relieve of their injuries, they'll probably shoot up to number 2, probably, depending on how they play against the Bucks down the line. And then, of course, the Eagles themselves. I mean, it's a case where, like, yeah, I know they lost to the Giants, but I think they still, offensively speaking, I think they'll figure it out. The only thing is it depends what happens this upcoming game against this upcoming week, basically. Let's see what happens here. If they can't win this game, this might be an issue where, like, maybe the Eagles might have outplayed themselves at this point, and they're their own worst enemies, and they might not become on this list at that point. Now, you might ask us, like, hey, what about the Indianapolis Colts? Yes, what they're doing is amazing, but let's be honest. Their defense is great. They're all JTT is out there. He's doing really well, but you still got Daniel Jones as your quarterback. Let's be honest. Let's see when they play some real competition and see what happens there. Because, like, once they have the competition, it'll be interesting to see how Indianapolis rebounds from that. Because, like, reality is, yeah, chances are they'll make the wild card because of the way they're winning right now. But I think it's a case of, like, once someone figures out what Daniel Jones is, I think they'll be able to adjust and, like, take him out at that point. So this is what I think for now. I'll definitely say the Lions are the team to beat, as well as the Bucks. Packers are getting back up there, I think. Rams, of course. So, like, yeah, there's no AFC team here in this situation. Well, let's be honest. The Ravens, they're pretty much done. The 49ers, I don't know how that works out. We'll see in short time. With the Commanders, it might vary. We'll have to see how they play against Dallas this week. Similar to the point where, like, with the Bills, I mean, they are injured. They are injury-ridden right now. So as of this moment, they're not a top 8 team. Quite honestly, they have a lot of injuries. Once all those players come back, let's see how the Bills play out at that point. I think they'll definitely get back on this at this point as well. So Kansas City itself, you might say, is like, hey, where's Kansas City? There's a reason why I didn't put Kansas City on here, because it comes to the point where I think this might be almost the end of it. Almost. I mean, I'm not ruling him out just yet, quite honestly, because Mahomes and Reed themselves, I think Reed will be able to fix out whatever it is. Mahomes will be able to, like, connect with all the players. It's just the defense will have to get back to what they were in the past. So, and from the aspect of, you might say, about the not the Detroit Lions, but the Steelers, as well as the Bills. Again, like I said, the Bills with the injury. The Steelers, I want to say that, but reality is, they're not a top 5 team right now. I think right now they're still within the top 8, yes, but not top 5. And then, of course, with the the Commanders, like I said, it depends how they play against the Cowboys. Let's see how they play against the Cowboys at this point. And you might ask, well, what about New England? Yes, Vrabel has changed them right now, but let's see for another 3 games how that works out. Because right now, yeah, Drake May is doing what he's doing. I think it's because of Stephon Diggs. Let's be honest, Stephon Diggs is putting, pretty much keeping him in there. So let's see what the next 3 games hold out for them and how they work, play out at that point. If they win the next 3 games, then I would say, yeah, then I would say Tampa Bay deserves to be on this list. At that point, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think of my list so far right now at this point? Should I say the Eagles are there or not? I mean, I understand that number five is a little washy, but honestly, I can't say Denver because Denver has a really good defense, yes, but I don't think they're there just yet. I think they're a QB away. Knicks is good, but I think if you switch Knicks with, actually, I don't. Yeah, I mean, if it's Justin Herbert, I mean, honestly, Justin Herbert, they if Justin Herbert was on the Broncos, they'd be number two, number three, at least for sure. Similarly, you might ask, well, what about the Chargers? Why aren't they on this list? I think they're still working stuff out right now. Honestly, I think it's a case where like the defense is not there yet. I think it's kind of weak. Only time will tell at this point. But with that, I'll leave it at that. If you have I'd love to hear our comments and thoughts about my lists. I'm waiting after this week. Let's see what happens after this week and if my list changes at that point. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Of course, my lists are always going to be constantly changing, so we'll see what happens there. It's always evolving, basically, based on week by week. But time will tell. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.